Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Hey, Delora.
Hi, Ashley.
We've teased this. We are back with more In Conversation special editions for the Dayton Black Women's Film Festival.
So excited. I'm cheesing, cannot wait.
Well, it's such a special series. Shout out again to Angelina for having us as a sponsor this year. And on the podcast today, we have Kailah Ware. Kailah is the owner and creative director of SunnyBlu Creative Agency. How you doing today, Kailah?
Hi, Kailah.
Hey, y'all. I'm doing great. I'm just really excited to be here. I'm so honored to be able to be a guest. So very excited to get the conversation going.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, we are going to start this interview off as we do with all of them, which is asking you to walk us through the highlights of your career journey thus far as the owner and creative director of your agency.
Ooh, the highlights. You know, the lows create for much better and interesting stories.
Well, feel free to share those as you like.
The lows are the ones that, you give me, I always say, give me 2 shots of tequila in 45 minutes. I have all the stories. But the highs, I was just talking to my best friend about this, is that it's a series of yeses. So I always say it's like, you get to a place and it's like, man, this feels like a big yes, but it's all these little yeses along the way. So I would just say, things that I highs, when I first started my business back in 2016, I was awarded a grant to do a video project called 1 Degree of Separation, where I interviewed over 300 Cincinnatians. And I picked kind of the most interesting stories, and people were able to walk up to this wall and engage with the story that they wanted to hear. They would just press it, the story would play. So that was a major yes for me at the time, because it was the first time somebody validated my work by putting some dollars behind it. And so that was 100% an amazing yes. Another big yes is just to some contracts I've gotten. A really big yes. I won an award. The Public Relations of Society, they do awards each year for different campaigns. And my agency won 2 Blacksmith Awards.
Congrats.
Thank you. I was recognized as a woman of influence in Cincinnati. So that was a nice, yes. And then I worked with Oprah Winfrey. So that feels like a pretty big yes. So there's some just highlights along the way.
That's a universal yes on the Oprah.
Yeah,
you're
the Oprah.
Take the time to scream, but it's doing too much for right now. But yes, I love it.
Yeah, so those are some of my yeses. And I had and then just to everybody who's just helped me and has been a support system, and the times they said yes to investing in me, if all of it is one big story that gets you to these different places, like a vehicle to get you to where you're arriving at, and all these is communal help. So,
but what's really important is that you kept going, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. Adversity will always rear its head. And at a certain point, one thing I would say, I come from resilient women. And so it's something I've learned. I feel like it's just deep inside of me to say okay, we might have to regroup. We might have to pivot, but we're not giving up. So
speaking of pivoting, I noted in an article that when you graduated from Wright State University with a degree in film production, you wanted to direct movies, but you weren't interested in necessarily moving to LA or Atlanta. What was the thought behind you wanting to stay in Cincinnati at the time? And I saw one of your installations was a question of, what do you love about Cincinnati? So I'm going to ask you, what do you love about your city?
So for me, it was just so I graduate and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I always understood that I wanted to be like entrepreneurial in with my pursuits, mainly because I didn't understand how to get a job with my degree. So it was just like I got to figure out how to make some money on my own, doing like having a skill set. So in between doing like portraits for folks and baby pictures and anything I can get a hold of to try to make some money and music videos and all of the above, I was working on film. So I would work on film sets. So that I always play around and said the closest I've ever gotten to a real job is working on movie sets. But the films that would come to Cincinnati, it was like everybody from LA. I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them were just jerks, man. They just weren't. I just did not vibe with them. I also think the industry lends itself to like, drama and being around people who are maybe a little more flamboyant the most. I have a lot of stories about working on sets as well.
Mm.
I love drugs, rock and roll stuff. Like that is a real thing. But I understood that there was something special happening in my city, and I wanted to be a part of that growth. I mean, you have places like New York, LA, they don't need more growth. Of course, everybody hopefully has something special to offer. But when you're in a place and you believe in the direction that it's going in, and you see that it's a critical time that your city is actually investing in artists and in film, it's like, why go against that to go someplace that's already inundated with a lot of other folks?
And so the second part was, what do you love about the city that makes you want to be a part of that growth and stay put? Because a lot of people will be like, well, the city, I grew up here, I love it, it gave me what I needed, but what I'm going to need for my career is a bigger, busier, more opportunity for certain connections place.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've learned is that if the internet has made, and I'll directly answer that question, but I'm kind of going to circumvent, but the internet has made life a lot smaller. So it is like, I totally understand to where if it was like, hey, I want to be a screenwriter, then I need to move to Los Angeles. I mean, if I want to actually make money writing scripts and doing things like that. But there's a lot more connectivity that allows for placement isn't as important. And another thing that I've known is that when you're doing good work, you could be anywhere. The right people will find you. Now, to your point, are you around them all the time? Is it maybe less opportunity? I could understand that, but I think that life rewards people who are brave and who are doing the work. And I think wherever you are, you can do the work. But what I love about Cincinnati is that it loves me. I, and it's just it's simple. It's the place I've grown up. It's the place where my family is. Well, I've been able to start and have my business for the last 7 years. And granted, not all my clients are not in Cincinnati, but it's just getting those yeses in those early, like very pivotal spaces to where people invested in me, then it's like the city invested in me. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, it was programs, it was people in place to say, hey, I want to see Cincinnati grow, I want to see Cincinnati thrive. Now they're pushing for programs that I'm now a part of and I'm benefiting from. And now I get to be on the other end to help cultivate talent here in the city. So
As a Dayton native, I love that. And I love the gem about social media making the world smaller. But even before then, right, you had certain artists who wouldn't leave, did not leave their hometowns necessarily. Prince, Minnesota, Paisley Park made it his own. You know, plenty of people who keep their hometown roots and are still able to do their artistry to whatever extent they want to do it without having to go to what people consider the meccas of those industries. So I
right.
love that.
And it's like, it's value in it. Like I definitely see like, everybody has their own journey, but it's just like me, I really and a lot of work I do, and we'll probably get into this, is like around movement building and like movement work, and like democracy spaces. And it's like one thing that I just go hard for the Midwest. Like I go hard for Ohio, I go hard for Cincinnati, and I just go hard for the Midwest because I have just seen so much coalition work in this space, and I just believe in the people who are here. And it's just like I want to be a part of that because of my folks.
I love it.
Ashley and I are Midwestern girlies, like education, hometown.
Yes.
And The thing that I do love about Cincinnati and Dayton, and it has such a unique art scene. And so living here, going to school here, how does that influence your art?
Yeah, for sure. So little side note, my mother's from Dayton and my grandma still lives in Dayton. All my folks are still in Dayton.
Shout out.
I'm
Right.
from Detroit,
Oh,
but I've been in Ohio for some time now. And
Yes.
my dad's family is from Cleveland, so shout out to Cleveland.
shout out to LeBron and what they yeah. But yeah, no, I think that as far as inspiring my art is really anchored in women's issues, women's rights. And I think a lot of that just comes from the very delicate political landscape that is Ohio, that swings this way and then this way, and it's really been this way for a while, but whatever. But
Exactly.
Well, as Ohio goes, so goes the country has been a long time saying politically. So
yeah, it hasn't let it down. That's why I'm like, yo, I already knew what was up. But for me, it's just like being in that space to where it's just like your rights can be taken. Hamilton County here in Cincinnati, we have the largest death row. We have the most folks in death row over like Franklin County and Columbus and Cuyahoga County and Cleveland. And these
Mm.
are counties that are bigger, substantially bigger than Hamilton County. So while there is this love that I have for the space I've grown up in, there is this other side, this underbelly that is like, hey, there's a lot of inequality going on. There are a lot of things that are not right. And I think that people are trying to correct wrongs. But in my art, I really look at that and I examine where did policy, where did society let me down as a Black woman? And then how can I use that to lift up other Black women? So always from the perspective of joy, positivity, not from a deficit perspective, but also realizing just what it means to be a Black woman growing up in Ohio. And I feel like that has been what's been a major influence on my art.
I have to say, being a transplant to Cincinnati, it is very unique. Like one of especially being a Black woman, people want to know what school you went to, and I'd
Oh
be
yeah.
like, "Oh, what college?" And they're like, "No, they want to know what high school you went to," and I'm just like, oh,
I can tell
"Okay."
you everything I need to know about you, depending on what high school you went to.
And that is crazy to me.
Yeah, it is. Because it is crazy. And it's just one of them things that's like, that's such a Cincinnati thing.
I've enjoyed it, but one of the things that I know other transplants feels like they're like, I don't know if I'm fully a Cincinnatian yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot for us to, I guess, fully, you know, become a Cincinnatian because of the unique. Like, you pretty much have to grow up here.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's something that like I always hear from people who are transplants. They're like, yo, Cincinnati is really not, it's such a, I don't, people use the word click. You know, I have a problem with that word, but people always like Cincinnati's real clicky. It's very like, oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go to high school? Like, I mean, and I think about it, I'm like, okay, because people like stay here. Like, I mean, I literally, my best friends from since I was like 11 years old, I'm still best friends with like today.
yep.
You know, and then it's like, oh, well, then I know your brothers and I know all his friends, but it's like we've all been doing life together for such a long time that it's
Hmm.
like, and then it's like, I'm just one person. This is a common story, I would say, amongst people that I know who live here. So, like, I could kind of see how that could be a lot. Whereas if you go to a place like, I'll just say New York, Chicago, you know, a bigger town, you're gonna get people from all over. So I feel like people are a lot more like just interested in people. Maybe there's like a more
Mhm.
like human curiosity that takes place in bigger cities that I would say like in places like Cincinnati, it's like I'm actually not that curious about others because I've known everybody for 20 years.
Well, it's just like you're rooted, right? Which I was just telling one of my friends who's lives in Florida. I was like, certain cities are just so transient, whereas, some of these Midwestern cities you fall in love with and you live in your whole life, you have deep roots. And it's the love and the community that makes it exceptional and an exceptional place to be. So
Yep, it is the community. Absolutely.
you found your passion. You've already talked about your work some in working with businesses, nonprofits, philanthropic organizations to tell their stories. Tell us more about some of the work that you've done and any professional highlights you have along the way.
Yeah, so my firm, SunnyBlu, is a social impact branding firm. Like you said, we work with nonprofits, philanthropic organizations, and mission-driven brands and businesses to really help them move their mission forward through creative tactics. And so what I always say with that is that we get to use creativity as a problem-solving tool every day. Like there's these really big problems that are like this, societal issues, big things that we're tackling. And it's like we get to approach it from a creative perspective. But I just think like, yo, how lucky am I to be able to use creativity to try to change this world every single day? And I love it. And I thank God for it.
I was curious when you're saying that you get to tell these stories creatively. You want to give us some examples? Like, are we talking more documentary work that you do for folks, public service announcements, commercial work? What are you considering to be artwork that is advocating and pushing the needle for these businesses?
Yes, I always say that I get to live in the plane and the best of both worlds, to where I get to be an artist and I also get to be on this side of doing like documentarian, like narrative work for businesses. So it's like it's art, but not art for art's sake. We're using this to move some type of mission or something forward. But we've worked on different commercials. I would say we did like for Planned Parenthood last year, Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio, so in Cleveland and Akron. We did two really big fundraising pushes for them that I felt really good about, and how we were able to use this narrative work and this creative work to be able to raise funds for this nonprofit that I feel like is doing a lot of work that's necessary here in the state. So to be able to create things that help move and get folks more money to continue their mission is something that I really like hold on tight to. We've also worked on different, and it's not just video work. We do like branding, brand development. So we've done variety of brand kits, websites, billboards. Another highlight was a campaign called Quit Culture, to where we worked with Interact for Health and a company called Wordsworth. They're a PR agency, and we were the head creative agency to help African Americans in the Cincinnati area to stop smoking tobacco. And like that was really meaningful for us to be able to be in this work and like really tapping into the communities that we grew up in. One of the sample neighborhoods was literally where I was born and raised. So long story short is like just being able to use my skill set to be able to develop creative solutions for these big world problems is something I'm very blessed and grateful for.
Your website is pretty impressive with like you move the mouse and it's like it's moving with you, the light.
Thank you. I literally just got it redone, and there's so many things that need to be updated with it, but I'm like trying not to be super anal about it. But thank you.
How was it collaborating with the Oprah and witnessing the extraordinary talent of Sean Michael Warren?
Oh, it was amazing. So that all got set up. So there's a guy named Zoe Wesson. And when I say a guy, he is a filmmaker, director extraordinaire. He's worked on like very popular reality shows. He's gotten like 26 Emmys. Like, so he's the guy. But me and him have formed a relationship maybe about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. He was like, hey, there's this project. Do you want to work on it? But I can't tell you what it is. You just got to come to Chicago. So I was like, sure. So I was like, I pull up to Chicago. I was like, I just, you know how you trust your folks. Like he wouldn't just have me come up here for nothing.
Right.
Like, I want to introduce you to Sean Michael Warren. I was like, okay. I mean, like, I like to be introduced to folks. And then he's like, yeah, he was hand selected to paint Oprah's portrait in the Smithsonian, and we are going to document his journey from now until it's put up in the Smithsonian. And you might even meet Oprah. So I was like, well, the project is just cool in general. Meeting Oprah would be like the icing on the cake. But then I get a
Mhm.
call and it's like, okay, like the unveiling is happening now. I mean, because she was on her press run for The Color
Color
Purple.
Purple. And her
Mhm.
dress was purple in the
Her dress was
portrait.
purple.
I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I love it.
And to see that go from nothing on the canvas to what it was insane. But we get to New York, and I mean not New York, DC, and it was the day of. I'm following Michael, around the event and getting footage. And then he was like, "Hey, you need to come on back. Like, she's about to be here." So I was like, oh wow, I'm really about to meet her. So I met her, we talked, we chopped it up for a little bit. She was amazingly gracious. I probably it's been about an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. Well, probably longer than that because just recording her and like just being around her and then like seeing her interact with Gail and it's like, oh, this is truly her best friend. Ava DuVernay was also there. And so that was nice. I got to meet her as well. But
Wow.
yeah, but Oprah was she was fantastic and she was just like very engaged with the camera, very engaging with me. I mean, of course, I mean it's Oprah, so everybody's there to talk, see, she's the star, right?
Right.
Yes.
So for her to still have time, even with me having this camera all up in her face and her answering questions and doing these things, I was like, wow, I mean, and especially because I've worked with a lot of C level and D level and some B level celebrities, that were a pain in the ass. So to meet and for her to be as beautiful as she is inside and out was a gift.
Yeah, they always say you don't want to meet your idols, but she didn't disappoint at all. I got a chance to meet her years ago and she was lovely. I think it's interesting though, because one of the things she talked about was being kind, not nice, but it sounds like she was very kind with you.
Yes. And that's the thing. And I love that differentiator because it's just like, I would much rather deal with people who are kind than nice. Like, yo, you don't have to always say please and thank you with me. It's this lady, she lives in New York. And she was saying like the difference between folks in New York and in LA. She was like, yo, if you're in LA and you tell somebody like, hey, I got a flat tire, then I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You've had such a rough day. Like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, whatever else. She said, if you tell somebody like, hey, you're in New York, and it's like, yo, I just busted my tires, like somebody's gonna be like, hey, you don't know how to change a fucking tire? Like, you don't know what you're doing. But then, like, but they'll be helping you change it as they're like talking their mess. But it's like they're actually helping you get through the problem, even if it's not in the nicest way.
Yeah.
I agree. Following the social reckoning of 2020, we saw a surge in conversations and quote unquote action around equity and justice. Have you observed a shift in that momentum in recent years? And if so, how are you navigating or pushing back against that change?
Well, yeah, I mean, when Pepsi comes out with a commercial like featuring what was her name? Kendall Jenner.
Kendall, yeah,
And to like promote equity and equality. I mean, at that moment, everybody should have known it was for show. I mean, this is the thing is that you take the wins when you get them, right? So it's like in 2020 when all that was happening, I hope every Black person I know was able to just shake down an opportunity because of what was coming down the pipeline because it was on trend. But it's just shitty that it has to be a thing that's on trend because being
right.
not a trend for me. It is a reality to which I am
It's I'm
rooted in.
Black 365
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for X amount of years.
Well, my dad says the one thing I gotta do, stay Black and die. And so
I just said that quote when we did number one on the call sheet.
yeah,
Yeah, was that
Morgan
Lean on
Freeman.
Me?
Yep.
yeah, you just gotta stay Black and die. And so
Indeed.
it's just one of those things that like race is such a core piece of identity or identifier for most people that it's just like for you to come in and you being when I'm saying you is referring to like these big companies, organizations, whatever else, when it was like, oh yeah, we get all this money and we're gonna help Black folks. And now, I mean, it's just kind of what it's always been. If there's not some type of capitalism or money that's attached to equity, then people are not going to promote it because it doesn't impact them. It does not impact the majority of folks who are in power. So why would they care about trying to keep some stuff going? And I hate to be so negative, but it is just true.
No, but a lot of my friends who are entrepreneurs, they've been very vocal about how dried up it's been, and who knows when that'll happen again,
Yeah, I mean, no, for sure. And that's the thing that it's just like I absolutely hate that. But one thing that
Yeah.
I've been committed to, because on my like slide deck and my whatever things I send to potential clients and stuff to explain what my business is, my third slide is about diversity, equity, belonging, and inclusion. And it's
Mm.
like, yo, I stand on that because that is how I see the world, and that is what my work is shaped through, is through a Black lens of equity, love, and joy. And it's just like that doesn't separate from me.
It's
Like,
so true. It's like
mm,
we're global citizens, right? Like, I'm speaking of number one on the call sheet, Daniel Kalua said, he was like, there's nothing minor about me. I'm major.
Hmm.
Like, and that's so true. It's like the global majority are people of color,
it's just true. And it's just like one thing I do believe is that Black people, people of color, should like access the power that we have, because when you were able to do that, then it's like it doesn't matter if it's 2020 or 2025, because I have been able to access the power that God has given me, my community has bestowed upon me, and my family, to know who I am, how I show up. And those things are like things that people can't take away from you.
Hmm. Yeah, you just existing as a successful Black female business owner in the space you occupy is pushing back against,
Mhm.
you know, the forces that be, especially right now as they're trying to tear down everything around us. So,
Oh yeah, it's active and it's deliberate, and
very.
I won't get into all of that, but it is just one of those things that I think that people who've been affected by the diaspora everywhere, whether you are a Black Brazilian, a Black Jamaican, a Black American, a Black English person, it's just like, hey, we all have to try to tap into our collective power together to see what does it look like to actively create change. Because when you have a problem this big, you can't have a group like this small trying to combat it. And to your point, we're not the minority. We might be the minority in our respective countries, but at large, we are the majority. So, just some food for thought.
You are receiving the Bloom Award at this year's Dayton Black Women's Film Festival.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah.
So excited.
You're also going to be showing a screening of your documentary Short Bodies in Flux, exploring the importance of reproductive rights in the US. Tell us about the film.
Yes, so man, I wish Asha, you guys would probably meet Asha. She's an amazing artist. She does all sorts of like when you get to talking to her about her thesis and practice and stuff, it's just super cool. So she was awarded a grant and she was like, hey, I really want to create a documentary, film a documentary for my work. And so I was like, okay, like tell me more. Like, and so then we got on the same page. We started watching different films, taking notes on like how like we think, how does it open? How does it close? What's in the middle? Like what are we really trying to say? What's that story that we're actually trying to tell? And so it is a mini documentary about her practice called Bodies in Flux in this particular show that really stands down on women's rights and uses like writing prompts and her actual visual art to tell this like story of like what if there was a diasporic future of where women couldn't choose whether they had an abortion and they didn't have rights. What does this time look like that they're trying to roll us back to? And so you have these different prompts that inspire different answers based off of this dystopian, that was word, this dystopian future. And yeah, it was awesome.
What does this award mean to you at the festival?
Oh man, winning this award means so much to me. I mean, on a side note, I was going to go to Europe on May the 5th and be there for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, no, man, I'm accepting my award because to be honored, you do the work that you do, but to be honored for the work that you do is just something that is just like it's beyond, it's like, wow, I'm really like here, like somebody else sees the stuff that I've been putting in, and not just somebody, it's my sisters. So it's just like, this isn't just an award that I just got from, Joe Schmo down the block. These are other Black women that are like, hey, we see you and we recognize what you're doing and we want to support you and support that. And kind of wrapping back into those like small yeses, it's like Black women and Black people in general have always been giving me those yeses. And so it's like I would never, never not show up for my folks and then get an honor to be able to do it. So it's just beyond me.
Agreed. Black women are the superheroes of my life.
It's on
For
cake.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
How did
Amen to
you
that.
how did you get connected with Angelina, who founded the event?
Well, I got connected with Selena. So I got my degree at Wright State. That's how me and Selena were connected. And then actually we worked on a couple of films together.
Very
Um,
nice.
yeah, so then that was my pathway into the festival.
We had an opportunity to chat with Selena as well. So
Yes, she's
Yeah,
lovely.
she is. I love her.
Who is on your personal Mount Rushmore of filmmakers?
Ooh, that's a question. Well, I love Gordon Parks. So I would say that he's definitely up there. I would say who Scorsese. Like I feel like I know I just jacked up his name, but I love
Scorsese.
You
Scorsese.
did it.
Mm-hmm.
Tarantino. I also love Tarantino.
He's extreme.
He is, but you know what? I love an extreme moment. That's why I like to watch stuff on. Like I like to get away and just watch things because it's like, yo, I'm just so separated, from what's happening in real life. So the more
Mm-hmm. It's an
extreme
escape.
exactly. Uh,
Yeah,
and I like his movies because they're so wild. It's just like, yo, who would even let you do that?
I know.
Watching Pulp Fiction is still hard for me all these years later. The scene with being in the basement and Bruce Willis, I'm like, I don't, I
I
still
actually
can't sit
never
through
need
this.
to see it. Yeah.
Well, we just saw Sinners, and I was talking to my husband. I was like, I don't think I've seen anybody act wild like this outside of Django Unchained. Like,
Yep. Wow, okay. And that's the thing I love about it. It's just like he creates these moments. I mean, even with like Django, like that whole movie was a moment.
it was, it was
Even
insanity.
it was in, I was just like, what am I mean, it's like all these different levels. Like I feel like he does so great with creating like peaks and valleys to where it's not even like the peak is happening at a very climactic moment, obviously, but it's like we've been on this journey of like it's the tension. Like even when like they were walking and he was a free man, Django, and he pulls up to the house and they like take him around and he sees all the other enslaved folks having to fight. And like those scenes were just so intense. It's just like, yo, what the hell? And they
Well,
gave
with
you money to it.
with him being on your Rushmore, I think he said he's only doing one more film, right?
Yeah, that's what he's
And
been
he's
talking
he's
about.
retiring. How do you feel about that?
He didn't put in his work. I love his movies, but I also believe that like everybody has their time. And it's not that you can
Yes,
extend beyond your time. Like I would never tell somebody like, oh, you need to stop making movies or you need to stop singing or you need to whatever else. But I do believe that people have their golden eras of when they are creating their best work. And I just feel like he's out of his. So it's like, yo, I'm okay with him never making like him making one more and like being done. Cause I mean, but then it's like you have Pulp Fiction and you have Django. I mean, he just has so many really great films.
Kill
And
Bill. Hmm.
get Kill Bill, man, what? So it's just like, he's been in his bag for a long time, but I think that at a certain point, everybody deserves rest.
True. So you've given
that's
us
real.
you've given us three. You got one more?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide because I like Mike Nichols. The Graduate is one of my favorite movies, but I also really love John Singleton. And to
Mm,
go from Mike Nichols to John Singleton, that's wild. But I gotta go John Singleton.
okay.
I
Yeah.
love that you pulled The Graduate out. Like, I was not expecting for you to say The Graduate was one of your favorite films, but I'll let Delora ask the next question in that case.
Well, before I go to the next question, I'd love to know, Gordon Parks, is there a particular film that like speaks to you with his work?
Superfly. I mean, I just like all of his like black exploitation films.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, they're like so like animated. I like things that are like have a certain level of like animation and over the top. And Gordon Parks did that with all of those black exploitation films. And he's just an awesome, amazing photographer.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you said him because that's a first for us with this question. So,
Oh, good.
what's your favorite movie or TV show and why?
Well, I love TV. I'm obsessed with television. I love all sorts of television. But I would say my favorite here more recently, I mean Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Final
that's
season, though? Final season?
of course
You
not.
know, I had to write, of course not. I had to rewatch Game of Thrones twice. So as I
Ooh,
watched it, oh yes, like I am like,
You got heart, girl. You got heart.
oh, I know about Westerosi history. You can ask me.
listen, when I was in it watching YouTube
Yeah, oh
videos,
yeah,
connecting the
review, understanding, like
yes,
trying to
the
like
lore of the books.
harder. Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yep,
We had to dig deep. Like, what is a White Walker actually like? But yeah, even with that last season though, they did us dirty. But
so dirty.
after rewatching it, I was like, okay, it's not as crazy as I thought it was. So in the moment, and it's been like 2 years, or maybe even a little bit longer than that since the last season had come out. It's like in our minds, like Dolores, Daenerys is still, our hero. Like she's our hero. These things
Right,
are happening, whatever else. But when I went back, I was like, okay, she truly was always for violence against people she thought was wrong and right. Like if you go back and watch seasons like 3 through 6, it is actually a major theme in her like character arc to
so
where
you said the descent to madness, even though it felt rapid, it was a gradual.
it was a gradual, but it was rapid in how like it happened so quick. So if they would have shown her like turning mad, so like and even there, I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk about this for 2 more minutes and then we can move on.
No, we
But
love GOT.
yes, but it was like even like throughout the show, they have all these hints of like, when the gods make a Targaryen, they flip a coin of whether it's
Right,
crazy as hell. Then like her father was actually the Mad King. And
Hmm.
everybody was like, hey, like throughout the show, she's always cautioned by both of her advisors, like, hey, like you don't want to be like your father. That's crazy. You shouldn't do that. Like you shouldn't kill all these people, even though it's easy when we're like, hey, these are the bad guys. Kill them all because they're almost a must. Like who likes a slaver? Nobody. Well,
right,
somebody, but the majority of people probably don't. So it just is like, kill them all. But it's like, okay, when she lost her advisors who were also always cautioning her against violence, and then she's in a space to where nobody actually likes her, like, or loves her, and she has to face this reality check of like, these people not checking, they're not waiting for their rightful queen, but they just did it in 6 episodes, which was nuts.
Yeah, it
which is
felt
crazy.
rushed by the end. Like it felt like, plus, I felt like more people should have died, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yes.
like, y'all were going real soft in
And
this
then
final
that
season.
epic fight was so dark, you could barely see what was going
Oh
on.
Yeah.
yeah, he was. Did you see like the DP came out and was? So I thought it was just like me and my TV, and then I looked it up, and it was like on Hollywood Digest or Hollywood Reporter, and he was pissed. The DP was like,
Mm.
because you all don't have properly calibrated TVs. I'm like, dude, it's everybody. Every TV
Right.
It
has
was a
We
trending
had to have a
topic.
special setting
that.
to be able to watch that Game of Thrones
Like,
night fight.
y'all need
Yeah.
to do market research on who are your HBO customers, where do they live, what type of TVs do they own, and I can guarantee you that most of the majority of the people who are watching this don't have whatever special setting they needed to be able to watch it clearly.
Yeah. The last thing I was just going to say is with all the incest in the Targaryen family, I never blamed her for being crazy as hell. By
Yeah.
the end, again, it just felt pushed
And the fact
fast.
that she and my boo,
Jon
John.
Snow.
John, didn't have any chemistry whatsoever when they were supposed to be the ultimate couple or whatever.
Yeah. But also, do we have to talk about the fact that they're aunt and nephew during the scene in which they finally get together? Where's the fan service, people?
that was horrific.
Yeah, they just said they didn't care about. They were like, "Yo, if we ever cared about fan approval, like they couldn't have."
They did not.
I think they were upset that the fans figured out a lot of the stuff. And I'm like, get over it. Just go with the story. Like,
Yeah, I mean, because like even like Jamie's story arc, it was like, okay, he started off like with his sister, twins, bonded, kids, all these things like that, but he transformed completely.
Yes.
And like at a certain point that she almost became his like foil character. So it like only makes sense if he actually kills her. That's what I was going with. I was like, he has to be the person to kill Cersei.
yes.
Because this is now this other side of him that we have seen actually die throughout the season, slowly but surely. And now it's manifested in her. And he, like, the twin has to be the person who takes the other twin out. Like, I always knew it wasn't going to be Daenerys or Jon Snow or any of them. But when he went back to be in love with her and they killed by a rock, I was done. I said, "Oh, they
by a rock holding
Cersei
each other."
Deserved to be tortured, burned, beheaded, dragged through the streets.
Shame.
Like that was so unsatisfying for the villainy that we had to endure throughout. And then Bran being the king, like it's so many factors.
I was just like, because the entire time I was like, I don't want it. And then they're like, Bran, you're the king. He was like, what do you think I came here for? Like, what?
You ain't even human anymore.
The seer, right?
Yeah. You don't care about these human things.
It's like, stop playing.
And now you gotta play politics.
I'm like, you're too. I wanted the cunning to come through, and it never did. He just was too straightforward the whole entire time. You didn't have to tell those people you killed her. You could have said she flew off on the dragon.
Yes, you could have, but you know what? That my boy not thinking. That's the issue. You're not using his whole brain.
Too straight laced. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah,
literally.
So we've talked in depth, but what is it about Game of Thrones or fantasy or anything like that you gravitate to?
Just an active imagination. I mean, even when I was a kid, like it's Harry Potter walked so Game of Thrones could fly. Like, and it is just being able to like the escapism for me, like especially because I make stuff that's so like serious. Like I truly make things like I deal with like some of the hardest topics all the time that are constantly going on around that is like in my free time. I love to watch things that are just like out of this world. So that's like my appeal to Game of Thrones, but really it's just a really good story. It's really a story of family and revenge, love, all of these very basic human things. There just happens to be dragons in it and
exactly
White Walkers.
Right.
The lore is built around the narrative, and that's what I appreciate.
Indeed. When people know I don't love things that are super gory and violent or like, how did you watch Game of Thrones? Because it's the story. Like, seriously. They reel you in with the story and then you just tolerate all the craziness.
All the crazy.
Like the Red Wedding. You know?
Oh, man. That's just... Oh, man. He's talking about my heart. I said, you're lying.
Girl.
Not just murk all these people in this wedding. Girl. So it was just like craziness like that. But my other show was White Lotus.
So did you watch the latest season?
I haven't watched season 3 because
I haven't
season
either.
2 had... Did you watch season 2?
Yes.
We did.
We recapped it.
Okay.
Yes.
The thing about the White... So I thought the first one, I didn't really care for it. I don't know if you all care for season 1.
I think it was the themes. I think I liked the themes better in the second season than I did the first. Like the first season was very much about the upper class and like greed. And the second season is like
Less.
sex and like some level of autonomy with that based on how we wrap everything up. And yeah, it was just I prefer the themes in season 2 for sure.
Maybe that's what it is. I felt way more connected to that than season one.
Yeah.
Season one, I also feel like they try to use like comedy that I don't know if it ever really hit for me. Like it would kind of be these moments. It's like, okay, is this like a pause? Is laugh? Season two, it just felt so intense. And
Yeah.
every like the tension that they built up with that music, cut into those like marble like artwork and pieces, and then it's like when she was on that boat with them guys, I'm like, oh, something bad is about to, I don't even know what it is. And then it was like, oh my God. And then the prostitute, I knew she was playing them. No, I was like, oh yeah, she playing.
Ooh, my guy fell in love.
So
Okay.
hard. He's like, Dad, we have to save her. We have to save, like she's a puppet. We need to save her. She needs us because we white and we know. Sorry.
Yeah, season 2 was so good. Season 3, I don't know. I was saying, spoiler a little bit for people. There's some incest that happens that I just don't know if I'm trying to sit through.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 3 may
It's
not
just
get
in like a
touched.
very modern setting. It's very awkward. Even though
Yeah.
it's all made up, like it's like Game of Thrones incest is very much like mythological, is very much in this other planet. And
It's
then
removed for sure.
yes, and it's kind of just mirrors like what we understand about like England and like how a lot of
Because
them,
that did happen.
yeah,
Kept the blood pure
yeah,
The
type
blue
exactly.
energy.
bloods.
Yeah.
And that's how, people end up crazy, but like that doesn't feel as bad. But modern day, like you're in Thailand and you rich and there's incest, that's just no, thank you.
Yeah, because I feel like we could go on vacation and run into these people at the resort and be like, oh, I
Uh,
see how y'all get down here and whatever this resort is called, Grand Palladium, whatever, wherever I usually stay. Anyway,
Palladium.
let's discuss self-care. You talked about you have projects that are very heavy. What do you do to maintain your mental and physical health in the midst of life and work?
Well, my physical health, I make sure I work out almost every single morning, at least like 4 to 5 times a week. Because what I realized is at a certain point when I was building my business, I did not prioritize my physical health. And I was like, I got big, like, and not even like in the sense of like from a cosmetic, but like just I wasn't moving my body. I was eating, I was editing all night because I was trying to get all these clients and do all this work. And I wasn't necessarily at a point to where I felt like I could pay people. So it was like I was literally having to do everything at once, but I was sacrificing so much of my time that it's like, wow, I'm not actually taking care of myself. And so for like the past 2 years, I've been a big proponent of that to where it's like, no, you wake up in the morning, wake up at 6:30 every morning to go work out at 7. Because nobody like in the morning, your day is it belongs to you. At 9 o'clock, my day belongs to everybody else. And it's like that until the end of the day. My mom will call me, somebody else will call me, whatever else. Nobody's calling me at 6:30 in the morning. Like nobody. But somebody will call me at 11 o'clock at night and need something or need whatever else. And not saying I got a lot of needy people around me, but I mean y'all just know how it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I make it a priority to say like, all right, if I'm gonna work out for sure, it has to be in the morning before my day gets started. And then with that is like a spiritual component, like really been needing to like for me, I am a Christian, but it's like I get strength from like reading my Bible, setting aside to have like alone time. And I'm not always the best at it, but when I do that, I find myself to be in a much more grounded, just happier, more joyful space. Um, and then so we did physically, mentally, I will also just say I create boundaries. I become a lot better at a boundary in this.
Importante.
Oh,
It's
very.
so critical.
Oh yeah. And like I realize it's like it's okay to even have work boundaries. I feel like my trauma has taught me like, okay, well, you gotta be better than everybody else. You gotta show up more, you have to do these things. So it's like I'm driving myself crazy so that way I'm not having imposter syndrome and I get to feel like, okay, well, Kailah, you're putting in just as much work. When in reality, a lot of folks that are owning these businesses, having these opportunities, it's not really about overworking yourself. It's about strategy and different
Right.
And so I realized I've always just had more of a aptitude to say yes. So if a client can ask for something, I'm like, oh yes. Somebody needs something, oh yes. But like now it's like, okay, well, Kailah, you've given 4 yeses. What are you gonna do for you? Like you literally don't have no time to do nothing else because you done told all these people you was gonna do all of the stuff that is above and beyond anything that you are actually obligated to do for them. So that's been a challenge, but I'm trying to challenge myself to stick to those boundaries.
So, what's next for you? What additional creative endeavors do you think you want to take on, whether they feed you just in your personal life or professionally or what have you?
Well, I really want to be a pole dancer. I'm also not good at it, and I don't try that
I'm
hard.
like, are there classes around
Yeah,
here?
classes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was like, I could get into that, but that is just something that I've always like, oh, I've wanted that for myself.
It's very athletic. Like it's
Very.
very impressive when I see the strength that it takes, core strength,
Exactly.
everything.
Oh yeah, your body needs to be. It don't gotta be bodying. You just gotta be strong.
Yep.
Just like okay,
Especially upper body.
yeah, especially upper body. So yeah, I would say that as far as like work perspective, I want to make something that's funny. I want to do like some type of comedic skit, some type of something that's not necessarily related to work and it can be doesn't have to be so perfect or so like in control. It could just be like, hey, this is me, my friends having fun. Something, but just something that's kind of funny and then something that's about love. So I think that those are like some like creative endeavors I would like to try, whether that is like doing like a photography like session or if that's video or whatever. Those are probably those are the 3 things. I want to be a pole dancer who makes content about love that is also funny.
I
Love it.
love that. What's your superpower and what sets you apart from your peers?
A superpower is that I'm me. And that my mama is Monique Ware and that my daddy is Gerald Ware. And I think that that is as much superpower as super that anybody needs for one lifetime.
Amen.
So that is my superpower is that my parents are who they are and somehow they miraculously came together and formed me. But no, really, I think it's just my ability to relate. I think that you can put me in almost any situation, circumstance outside of people who are just like bigots or just not people like that way. But yeah, I just feel like I have the ability to connect with people. I think I people very well. So that would probably be my superpower is that I people very good. And I do. I love that about myself.
You were right the first time too, in that there will never be another you. And that is a superpower.
That is like, yo,
It is.
out of all the things I could be, out of anybody I could be, out of all the possibilities, I'm me. And that's just, I don't know. I just think that's super lit.
I
So
love it. What's the worst career advice you've ever received and how did you navigate past it?
the worst career advice I ever received. Oh, people like give horrible. People give horrible advice.
They do.
But
They really do.
I'm just being like that is like people give horrible advice. I would probably say the worst advice I've ever gotten was to get a job. I think by far that's the worst advice I've ever gotten is somebody told me to get a job. Like I don't know. No, absolutely not. So
So you navigated past it by saying, I'm going to do what works for me, essentially.
oh yeah, I navigated past it by saying like, "Hey, I got a vision, and you might not have that vision." And I also understand that you, like most people, are trying to protect. I think that most people want the best for me that I'm around. So it's like for anybody to say that that's close to me, it's like you want what's best for me under your understanding of how life works. because it's only the perspective.
And it's very limited, right? They only can see past their nose, you know.
We talked about this with Selena as well and the terrible advice that she received.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like you have to be able to push past it. And even beyond just pushing past it, it's like, yo, I've learned to like be grateful for the bad advice. Because it's like, yo, you actually, like, there's an exception and there's a rule. Like, I tell people all the time, when people ask me about advice, it could be about a boyfriend, whatever. It's just like, hey, you know what? What you're telling me, I will tell you to leave that man. This is probably not a good situation. However, being that I'm not the one that's in it, you always know, or you should be able to know yourself well enough to know how you should pivot and move in a situation. And because I don't have all the information, I just have very limited scope. And so when I think about that with my own life, I'm like, hey, people don't know. Like the person who told me that, they had very limited scope about what I was doing, my vision for what I wanted to do. They were operating with very limited information. And for them, it's like, yo, your best course of action, like you went to college, you need to take your ass on and go get you a job. And it's a perspective. And as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm like, oh, it was bad advice for me. But there's probably like 10 other people who might be in my situation who actually need to go get themselves a job. Yep. So it's just like, it is one of those things. I wish I could say like, hey, everybody needs to follow and do their thing, because somebody has seen this situation that I was in with 10 other folks who actually needed to go get a job. And then there was me, who actually understood the vision and the things that I had and I wanted to do for my life. So it's just like, I can't even be mad at faulting somebody for giving people sound advice, but it just wasn't the right advice for me.
Yeah, you have to follow your own internal compass, right? Because I feel like there's so much that can influence you, even not just advice, right? Things you see, who you're around, the environment you grow up in, all of that has an influence over you, but you have to figure yourself out in order to know what's going to work best for your path.
Oh, yeah. And that's why you got to know yourself. Yeah.
Last question. What advice do you have, if any, for those who may be following your path?
A couple things. So first, life rewards the brave. So I would take that, like, just when you think you shouldn't do it. I mean, maybe you shouldn't do it, but maybe you should. Like, like you just might actually want to do it, even though you probably shouldn't. So it's just like, but life definitely rewards the brave. I would say that, in that, I mean, it's gonna sound cheesy, but it's just like really just keeping your spirit full and your spiritual walk, whatever that may be, at the forefront of your life. Because it's like you got to believe in something that's bigger than you when you're not big enough.
I just let that marinate for just a sec. But thank you so much, Kailah. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please share this episode out with everybody you know. We appreciate it. We'll be back. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.